Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really critical question, one sent in by a learner, Jack Liu.
And it's a concern we hear a lot. It's about levodopa, the absolute gold standard drug for Parkinson's symptoms.
The question is it possible that this drug, the one meant to help, is actually making the disease worse in the long run?
Exactly. This fear that it might be, making the brain cells work themselves to death faster.
It's a really unsettling thought.
It is, and it's influenced treatment for a long time. So our mission today is to get into the academic debate without the jargon and see where this idea came from.
And we're going right to the source, a paper from 2004 published in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The original concern, the very seed of this myth, came from studies done in vitro.
In Petri dish, you mean, not in a living person.
Right, just cultured cells in a lab. And in that specific setting, the 2004 paper notes that levodopa might produce reactive oxygen species, cause some degradation.
And that's the working cells to death idea right there.
That's the one. But here's the crucial part, and it's in the very same paper.
There's a counterpoint.
A huge one. The authors immediately say that in animal experiments, levodopa showed no toxicity at all. In fact, it might have even helped damaged neurons recover.
So even back in 2004, the evidence was, well, it was contradictory from the start.
It was. But the paper's final summary is what created all the ambiguity. It said, look, the clinical data suggests it's helpful long-term,
Right.
but the neuroimaging data, the brain scans, suggested it might be accelerating the loss of nerve endings.
And that's the detail that stuck, that one piece of ambiguous data from a brain scan.
It became the whole story. But if we jump forward, later analysis really pulls that finding apart. It turns out there was a pretty major flaw in how they did those scans.
Okay, what was it?
They took the measurements while the patients were still on the drug.
Wait, really? So the drug itself could have been interfering with the scan?
That's exactly what happened. Think of it like this. The drug, once it's in the brain, and the tracer for the scan are both trying to grab onto the same target, the dopamine transporter, or DST.
It's a competition.
It is. And the drug was basically hogging the transporter, so less of the tracer could bind, which on the scan looked like there were fewer nerve endings.
It wasn't real cell death. It was a measurement artifact.
Precisely, a ghost in the machine. Which brings us to this great 2011 paper titled LD Obehe, a scapegoat for accelerated neurodegeneration.
I love that title.
It's perfect because it gets at how an idea can just become ingrained. The paper argues that levodopa is still our best tool for motor symptoms, but its use was held back for decades by this idea of toxicity.
An idea that came almost entirely from those early Petri dish studies.
Exactly, not from robust clinical trials or animal studies. So for you, the listener, this is the big takeaway. The scientific consensus today is very clear.
Levodopa is considered safe and does not promote neurodegeneration.
Correct. And this isn't a fringe opinion. Major groups like the American, German, and European neurology societies, they don't list accelerating the disease as a risk. It's just not there.
So, wrapping this up,
Yeah.
the whole myth persisted for years based on, really, a theoretical lab concern and some very ambiguous imaging.
Even when the wider clinical picture pointed towards safety. And that really speaks to the need for critical thinking, right? You have to look at the how.
Which leaves you with one final thought to consider.
Yeah, think about this. How often does an initial inconclusive finding from a lab culture become this entrenched fear in the public mind?
Even when years of further academic debate and better data provide a much more reassuring answer.
That gap between an early theory and the final consensus is often where this kind of misinformation finds room to grow.